listening to You Be the Judge. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, and we have my great, beautiful co-host, Marilyn Pierre, soon to be Circuit Court Judge in Montgomery County, Maryland, and Judge Claudia Barber. She'll either be on sooner or later. She's always running in three different directions all at one time. So she's just an amazing woman. I'm just so blessed. Before we get started, I want to say happy Yom Kippur, because here it is a day of atonement, and it starts. So I know I'll be fasting for the next couple of days because of Yom Kippur. I do celebrate a lot of the major holidays of the different religions because I am connected to all of them. So I would like to say thank you for anyone who's able to listen later, and wish everyone a happy new year, because I didn't wish anyone happy because we just had the Jewish New Year just happened. So this is a brand new year. So let's start off right, and now let's atone for what we can so we can live a happy, blissful life. Marilyn Pierre is just an amazing woman. I would like to talk to her about for a second. She's running for Circuit Court Judge, Montgomery County. So here's what I want you to do. Take out a pen and paper. Send money. Write that down. Send money to me. And you'll be like, so to you? So yeah, to me. So you're going to send money to Marilyn Pierre for. And here's the sad issue when it comes to elections, and I've helped in many elections, either nationally, um, government races, presidential races, and we need money to run a healthy race. That's all. We need money to run a healthy race. So please send money. I am not biased. I am for Marilyn Pierre, Circuit Court Judge. And that is just how I feel. It's not because she's a friend and she's amazing. It's because it's the right thing to do. How about that? It's the right thing to do.
Excellent.
Marilyn, so now that you got your shameless plug, I want my $5.
Well, that was worth more than $5. So hopefully they send more than $5 so I can pay you more than $5.
So
Well, thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate that. That was a very nice welcome. And if you can't send money, because we understand things might be hard for people, I am walking in a parade in Poolsville on Saturday, so please join me. We're meeting at 9 o'clock at Poolsville Elementary School this Saturday, September 18th, which is also my birthday, so that would be a really nice birthday present to me. And if you can't do it this Saturday, there's also Saturday, September 25th in Burtonsville.
wait a
Where
minute.
you could also work in a parade with me.
Time out. We are not supposed to ever ask how old a woman is. I mean, it's been like this thing ever since my mother slapped me in the mouth. But when you say you have a birthday coming up, it automatically projects us to want to ask, well, how old are you going to be? So you're going to be 25 again, but that's great.
No. See, I'm barely legal. So that's how old I am. No. See, the good thing about me looking the way that I do and being in the only profession that I know of where you're supposed to be old and gray is I don't have to lie about my age. So I'm going to be 56 years old, which makes sense because I go around saying that I've been practicing law for over 30 years. So, people could do math. So
and I know we have never really done a show for just you. And before we get to our esteemed guest, Ms. Karen Holmes, you are running for Circuit Court Judge.
And yes, I am. I have filed. I've gotten all the paperwork in order. That's me.
How can we help you get there? And what is it that you're looking to do differently than the other judges that have been there?
Well, one of the things that I'm looking to do differently is to actually listen to people. And
stop! This is too much.
Everybody and then decide, as opposed to just deciding, because I like, I'm more familiar with this person than I am with the other party. But anyway, and also like Holly says, it is the right thing to do. But I don't want to spend much time with myself. I see that Judge Barber is here, so we're looking forward to having her join the discussion. And her timing is perfect.
Yep.
Because after she says hi, I am then going to read Miss Holmes's bio, and then I'm going to show her TED Talk, and then I'm going to play her favorite song to get her in the mood, and then after that, we will hear from Miss Holmes. Woo!
Hi, Judge Barber. How you doing? Welcome.
Why are you mute? We can't hear you.
See, the media got to her again. They are always trying to silence Judge Claudia Barber. I'm telling you, this is FBI stuff. This is such deep stuff. It is so political. We can't even have a show without them silencing Judge Claudia Barber, even on our show. It's come on. We got to get a better technician, which is me, out to your house where we can get you protected. So, because this is ridiculous. So, go ahead, Marilyn, introduce.
Well, I thought it was the NSA, but now that
but it's all deep.
I'm gonna go back to my alphabet soup.
Yeah, it's all deep rooted. It's all it's deep state. It's deep state.
It is. Okay, so I'm going to share screen because I want to show. Well, as I'm reading, I want to share Miss Holmes's bio with you guys. Okay, so let me go and say, okay, now that you know what, maybe I won't share screen because it's hard for me to see it with everything that I need. Okay, there I go. I can share screen and do that. Okay, so you guys see that this is Karen Kendra Holmes's bio. Let me see if I could do it justice. Karen Kendra Holmes, transgender advocate, award-winning public servant, and I said transgender advocate again. Okay. Ms. Holmes will share her passion for helping others transition and to foster acceptance and support for those around them, and how life can be fulfilled by being one's true self. Karen educates others who are not transgender to foster understanding that she and others live normal lives and are doing good things in our community, state, and country. Learn more at http://TEDxAsburypark.com/. Karen shares her passion for helping others transition and why do I keep reading the same thing? I'm sorry. I thought that I made the corrections. Okay, so let's see. I think I could start over here. Okay, Karen works for the federal government as a safety officer. She has won many awards as a passionate and highly effective public servant and volunteer in the national and state of Maryland Guards, and many national and local community service and first responder organizations. LGBTQ Nation selected Karen as one of the top 50 transgender Americans you need to know in 2017. We will hear from Karen after we play the TEDx talk and after we play her favorite song. So let me share screen again. Okay. Oh, we kicked out Judge Barber. She had to be admitted. Okay, yeah, so let me share screen again. Let me put the video back up. And
what I like is that now that she got to learn how to share screens, she's all over it. It's awesome.
Exactly. You notice now how nice it is. Let me share screen. I'm just so excited with my new skill. So I just want to show off. Okay, here we go. So we're sharing screen again. And we're going to listen to Karen's TED Talk.
I want to tell you a story about a young man by the name of Tony. Very charismatic, lovable. He would give you literally the shirt off his back if he had to. He was very athletic in sports, ran track, played football, running back and receiver, and he also played baseball, shortstop. And if he had played his cards right, he could have been maybe playing in the major leagues. But Tony had one problem that he was dealing with for years. At the age of 13, he was dressing in women's clothes. Started off with his mother's clothes. Every chance he had from school, he would go home and change. When his parents were gone to work, he kept track when they were going to get home so he could change back. And this went on for a while, and he was very depressed. And also the fact that he eventually ended up going to see a psychiatrist. And because of his depression, the doctor put him on medication. For several years, Tony had to do this. He was telling a story to his doctor and everything like this, and wasn't really getting anywhere. But eventually he was able to wean himself off of the medication. So once he did, he ended up getting off, and he met a good friend who took him to a conference called the Philadelphia Trans Health Conference. And at that conference, he met other kids that were 5, 6, 7 years old, and their parents were supporting them. And he ended up going to work sessions, and at the work sessions, he basically heard other stories of other transgender people who were transgender and how they successfully transitioned over full time. Tony had enough clothes that could literally, over the years, fill half of the stage. Getting them, throwing them away, getting them, throwing them away, and this went on for years. And one night, Tony went to a cliff and threw all of Karen's clothes off of the cliff. So after that conference, he went back to work with such passion, talked to a coworker, and the coworker said, let me talk to the director of Civil Rights and Inclusiveness. And in that conference meeting with the director, told the story about what was going on, and the director was in tears. So Tony said, okay, I'll go ahead and talk to her. Got the same reaction. The director said, I'm gonna go ahead and talk to the CEO of the agency and find out exactly what we need to do. And the CEO said, do whatever we can to make this happen. So Tony had to put this on hold for 3 months. And that time came in 3 months where just had to really keep it a big secret. And it was really hard for him to do, especially the fact that he was having to deal with a situation where he was very religious, an altar boy and everything else. But he was able to get through it with the help of other people and his friends. So, come time, he went home, called his brother. His brother said, give him time to adjust. Talked to his father. His father said, who am I to judge? His father said, I got one question to ask you. And Tony said, what's that? Are you going to keep your last name? And he said, yes. And his father said, okay, like it was no big deal. Then he talked to his mother in person because he knew that was going to be a challenge. Had his cousins with him and everything to break the news. In one particular situation, when Tony got to the point that he was going to tell what his name was going to be, he told his mother that his name was going to be Karen. Karen was told about this to his mother. His mother said if she was carrying a girl, when she had a girl, she was going to name it Karen. And that's me. I just totally lost it that day because I knew that's who I really was inside. So I go back to work on October 1st, 53 years, at the age of 53, 40 years later, and was told to my boss and everything on October 1st of 2010. The agency at that point was told everybody had to be at a mandatory meeting. Everybody figured out they were all going to get fired. But little did they know, they weren't. It was about me. And it was no big deal. So they didn't have the next day. They had a big conference in the conference room, and everybody got to hear a professional trainer who was transgender tell them my story and everything. At this point, we know Tony and Karen are two spirits joined together as one. And then we got to figure out a lot of things that people got to hear about me. There's been some challenges in my life since I've transitioned. At work, people were saying, oh, Karen looks like she's dressed to go to a party or a nightclub. And I'm like, really? I've never dressed like that. I talked to a girlfriend of mine and she said, welcome to the catty world. I'm like, really? This is what I got to deal with now? So anyway, the other challenges I've had, it used to take me 5 minutes to wash my hair. Now it takes 45 minutes to an hour. Oh, and don't go to the hairdresser, it's 4 to 5 hours. Buttons on the blouses are on the other side. Zippers on the pants are on the other side. And my biggest thing lately, 2 weeks ago when I was on a military assignment, out in the woods, had to take a pee. And that's the worst thing they have to do for any woman to do is take a pee in the woods. But I got that all planned out for the next time. These are the awards that Tony received from 1988 to 2006. Focus on 2003, the Willis Green Community Service Award. Tony received that. Here are the awards that Karen has received from 2010 to present. Notice in 2014, the Willis Green Community Service Award. People said, didn't you get that award before? I said, no, I never did. Tony did. So those are some of the issues. Not only that, but I've received numerous awards since I've transitioned. And here are my proudest ones. I received, without the general there, NCO Soldier of the Year by the Maryland Defense Force. And the other one by the State Guard Association of the United States Soldier of the Year of the country. And and mind you, these are all professional awards that I received on my own merit, not because I'm transgender. A lot of the women at Soldier Women didn't even know I was transgender. They just came up and said, hey, thank you for doing this for us. Thank you. I'm this big pebble that was thrown into the ocean. And in there, I've caused a big wave. But me telling my story to each and every one of you, I want you to go out there and tell more people so that wave just keeps going further and further. I am a storybook, and inside that book is my life. On the outside of the cover is Tony, which now is Karen. Just because the cover's changed, the story still remains the same. I have a saying, and I've always lived by it: shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll be among the stars. Thank you.
Okay, so now that we've done that, we are going to play Karen's favorite song, and then we will give the floor to Karen.
Stripped to the waist, we fall into the river. Cover your eyes so you don't know the secret. I've been trying to hide. We held our breath to see our names written on the wreck of 86. That was the year I knew the panic was over. Since we found out, anything could happen, anything could happen, anything could happen, anything could happen, anything could happen. Have to go Anything could happen. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. Anything could I'll give you anything you need. I'll give you anything you need. Oh yeah, I'll give you anything you need. I know it's gonna be, 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 I know it's gonna be alright. Since we found out, since we found out, anything could happen, anything could happen, anything could happen, anything could
Hmm. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Ms. Karen Kendra Holmes.
Yay!
And I just want to thank you, Marilyn, for inviting me on the show. You be the judge, and it's been very, very exciting to be able to share my story and be able to help so many people out there right now. My goal in not only doing this show, but other speaking engagements that I've done all over the country is to encourage other people, other transgender people that, hey, anything could happen, basically. And that's why I love this song. I mean, the song itself is so rich, being stripped to the waist, cover your eyes so you don't know the secret. I mean, that's why my tagline is 40 years and wandering no more. I've been trying to hide that whole situation, but not knowing really who I was deep down inside was a huge battle. But then after going to that conference that I talked about and hearing other transgender people's stories, I said, wow, my story is so much like their story. And I'm like, I got to go back home and do whatever it takes to actually transition on the job. And it's been absolutely amazing how accepting everybody has been. I'm 64 years old. I'll be 65 in November. Live here in Silver Spring. Mother actually moved back in with my mom because she's getting up in age, and I wanted to be here after the house fire. And my dad lives up in Reston. My brother in New Jersey, and then I've got a sister who I call my sister, even though she's my stepsister, who lives in Oxon Hill area. Work for the federal government. Been there for 20 years as of June 4th of this year. And I'm the safety officer at the agency, which has been now 10 years, no, 11 years coming up. So it's been really, really great. I'm actually a radio host every Tuesday, not every Tuesday, but the show comes on every Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And I come on maybe once a month, every other month, although I've got stuff already booked for next month, November and December. So I'm looking forward to being on the show then. The station is WPFW 89.3 FM out of Washington, D.C. And I actually, the name of the show is Inside Out Collective. So it is an LGBT station show. And we talk about various things. A lot of them I try to have everybody from the LGBT community, but mostly I've been targeting and talking with the trans community, what they've dealt with and gone through for ever how long they've actually transitioned. So it's been a very good show. Also, I have a column that I write for, which is Baltimore Out Loud newspaper. and my column there is trans lives. So I've been right now stagnated because I'm like trying to. I've been. It was they were looking for articles every 2 weeks from me, and I said, "Oh my God, I don't have anything else really to talk about." But I'm eventually going to be getting back into it really quick because I'm also a soldier with the United States Veterans Reserve Corps with the Maryland Battalion out of Rockville, Maryland. And so I'm not sure how much I'll be talking about that group in my life because they're kind of keeping it on a down low. And I also am with the Women's Veteran United Committee Incorporated. And the president of that group, she loves me to death. She wants me to be out there and talking about my life and what I'm doing out there as far as helping the community. Right now, I'm partnered up with the Department of Justice Community Relations Services, where I am speaking around the country to other law enforcement officers, bridging that gap between law enforcement and the transgender community.
Okay.
So I've done one with Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and then I just about a month ago did one with Georgetown Police Law Department, and so those actually both of them were absolutely superb. And then I'm going to be getting ready to go next month to Portland, Oregon, to talk to the police department out there. Here again, building that bridge between law enforcement and the transgender community, trying to get them to show respect to the trans community anytime that they actually pull us over by using the proper pronouns and stuff like that, which is going great right now. Where the ones we've actually talked to are trying to build this thing saying, hey, if you pull over us, what you might want to do is, hey, my name is Officer Brown. I'm with Montgomery County Police. My pronouns are he and him. How would you like me to address you? And if they do that, that level of anxiety for that trans person is going to come way down, like it did for me right before I transitioned back in 2010. I was almost like a block away from my favorite nightclub, which is now closed. But being there, the officer, stopped. It was a traffic stop, and the officer goes, as they all do, what need to see your driver's license and your registration and insurance card. And I gave that to him, and he goes back to the cruiser. And I guess when he got back to the cruiser, he says, oh, this picture is different on the driver's license than I'm presenting as. So he comes back up and he goes, is this you in the driver's license? And I go, yeah. And he goes, how would you like me to address you? And I'm thinking in my head, wow. I don't care, just don't lock me up. And literally, like I said, my anxiety went way down because I felt I was being respected at this point in who I was. And the officer was so much nice. He explained why he did pull me over, which I probably still would argue with him today. But, he just said, I'm just going to give you a warning, and that's it. And on I went to my party. So those are kind of what I'm teaching and training other law enforcement officers, and also being involved with the community, like going to what happens every year on November 20th, and some whole events within that week of that November 20th. It's called Transgender Day of Remembrance, or you may hear the word TDOR. And it's an international day for talk about the transgender people that have been murdered in that year. And actually, we do it in Montgomery County, Prince George's County, DC. I'm actually doing one on November 20th in Howard County for them. Up at Fredericksburg, Virginia, they wanted me to come up there again this year to talk. And I just can't be at two different places. Although I did it last year at Fredericksburg, and also being able to do Zoom with Montgomery County. So that did work out for that particular day. But for us, throughout the United States, we talk about the murders that have been committed within the United States. And so that's the difference. We don't read the names and all that kind of stuff for around the country, because if it was, wow, we're talking like high 300s easily. Here in the United States, last year there was 44. Year before, I think it was like 36. This year, I haven't been able to check yet this year, but it was very close of going pretty high this year. So hopefully one day this will be a stop to this and there won't be any more. With the Maryland Defense Force, I was with them for 5 years. I'm now with the United States Veterans Reserve Corps. I am first sergeant for the United States Veterans Reserve Corps. When I left Maryland Defense Force, I was sergeant, and I was doing force protection as well as chaplain's assistant. And when I was here with the United States Veterans Reserve Corps, I was also a chaplain's assistant doing force protection. But since I was promoted to first sergeant, I had to let go of chaplain's assistant, because if there's a conflict of what somebody's bringing to me that I should be keeping in confidence, I may have to take it up to the next level, to the battalion commander or whatever. So
excuse me, I'm going to call you Top because I'm just such a military guy. Excuse me, Top. I got to, and for those of you non-military people, so what? Hey, Top, I got a question for you, and it really comes down to, I think so many people still don't understand what's the difficulties transgenders have with the community. I think you're bridging the gap, but there's still a lot of people who just don't know, like, so what's the big deal?
Right. I mean, basically, I tell everybody when I'm speaking, we transition to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the way society treats us, we lose our spouse, we lose our children, we lose our home, we lose our job, we lose our friends. And it's really tough. And then we end up committing suicide. I was blessed and fortunate that that wasn't in my case. I probably lost maybe 1 or 2% of a friend, which to me, they have come around to who I am, and which is great. Family-wise, I do have one particular uncle who has kind of disowned me, and even talking to my cousins to get them to be against me, and which is really sad. Actually, on my show yesterday, I had my pastor on because I had brought up a question to him about about forgiveness and how I wanted to say, can I forgive my uncle who's treating me like I'm in non-existence, and also talking to my cousins and trying to get them to hate me or turn away from me. And I was having a tough time with that. And if you ever want to listen to that part of the show, you just go to WPFW.org, go to yesterday's date at 2:00, Inside Out Collective, and you'll be able to hear the 50-minute show for there. I go to a church in Rockville, which is Rockville United Church, and they love me there. I can't say enough about Rockville United, how they have actually reached out and supported me through everything.
So, Top, is this one of the things that you're literally teaching people how to treat people like a human being? Or, because is it just because you're not specifically talking about just transgender, you just happen to be transgender to be treated like a human being. So it looks like you're actually paving way for other people to be treated with respect anyway.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the word respect, because after I did my TED Talk in 2018, earlier this year, the director of TEDx Ashbury Park wanted to get back all the previous speakers to talk about treating others as you wish to be treated. Mm-hmm. And it was supposed to be a 1-minute talk, and I got mine together, and of course there were quite a few that couldn't do it in 1 minute. But I want to read that to you. It's called Respecting Each Other. Treat others as you wish to be treated is not just a cliche, it's the golden rule. In life, I have feelings, a mind and a heart who serves and cares for others. I am a human being and wish to be treated as one, like you would treat your mother, father, children, siblings, and friends. Just like you treat them with respect, I too want to be treated with respect. The only difference between them and me, I am a transgender woman, one who works for the federal government now for 20 years, a military veteran who was given the honor as Soldier of the Year by the State Guard Association of the United States in 2013. So please treat me as you would like to be treated. It's the golden rule and the right thing to do. And so now that's what I talk about it, and that's including with law enforcement when I talk to them. It's like this is the golden rule, So we want to be treated like we're human too. We want to be treated in a way that we don't have to commit suicide or be that next status thing of being treated ugly that we want to commit suicide or heck, going out there and being possibly murdered. Every time I go out of my house, I think about those things, and I'm very well conscious of protecting myself. Um, but I'm always vigilant. Who's coming on the metro train behind me, or who's sitting near me? All of these things go through my head, and I shouldn't have to worry about that. But I've got two things to worry about: one being transgender, and one being a woman. I don't do anything like I used to do when I was Tony. I would stop in a heartbeat for somebody that was broken down on the road. It didn't matter where, or an accident. I was always stopping. Now I have to take in consideration, I can't do that like I used to because I am a woman. And I still do stop for accidents or broken down vehicle, but what goes into that formula is time of day, location for me to make sure that it's properly safe for me to do so.
I'm just, go ahead, Marilyn, please.
Oh, well, I was just going to say thank you very much for your service. And amazingly, I mean, Soldier of the Year, that is really, really incredible. And congratulations for that. And I love your Oval Office background. and I hope one day you are sitting behind the desk of the real one, because you should be president. You have all the qualifications to do so. I want to step back a little bit and talk about the TED Talk, because first of all, I've never met anybody who has done a TED Talk before. And I would like to know, I guess, how does one go about doing a TED Talk?
Well, actually, what happened was I was at a conference up in New Jersey for transgender for the youth. And that night before the conference started, I was sitting there at dinner with the director of the conference, and I'm talking to him about, my life. And he just said, have you ever thought about doing a TED Talk? And I went, no, because I knew it was like, that is the top of anything to do if you can do a TEDx talk. And actually, this was TEDx Ashbury Park that he was talking about. So he had did one. And so he texts I don't know who it was at first. I found out later. He was texting the director for a TEDx talk. And so at the conference, there was my doctor, my surgeon, that I had the big surgery, talking about, the process of everything and everything. And so I actually stood up and I talked about my surgeon. I said what a great job she did, and how 200% now happier in my life because of the surgery. And lo and behold, sitting behind me was the director for Ashbury Park TEDx. And so he talked to me, he goes, are you Karen Holmes? And I go, yeah. And he goes, I got a text message saying, I needed to talk to you about doing a TEDx talk. And so he said, I want you to go online, fill out the application, and we'll see where it goes from there. And I didn't do it right away. It took me a couple of weeks because, like I said, we're talking TEDx or TED even there, which I'm happy to say that my TEDx talk this year in January actually went from TEDx Ashbury Park to now the main TED screen. So It's an honor to be up there among everybody else. But so I did the application. A couple of weeks later, I get the okay to come in and do the audition for the show. And I could either come in and do it or send in a video. And I said to myself, I think I really want to come in and do it live, because that way they can see my expression, my emotions, everything in it. And the theme of the talk was that year on passion. And so, of course, it was there. And so then another couple of weeks later, I got approval that they wanted me to come in and do the live show. And they assigned me a coach. And at that time, the coach loved my talk. He made a few adjustments here and there. And then, of course, later, he said, okay, I want you to meet the other 8 coaches. And I'm like, oh my God, 8 coaches now. So I did that. And then from there, they said they were assigning me a new coach 2 weeks before the live show. That new coach, ended up changing my entire talk to what it is now, which now I actually do use a lot of times when I go speak, because they just wanted it to be a little more personal and bring in Tony and talk about him now being Karen. And so I did that, did a couple of Skype interviews with him. And the first one, matter of fact, the next night we did a Skype, and he goes, I cannot believe it. You actually did what I asked you to do the next day. He was so shocked that he said he never had anybody come in and do something like that on changes. And I'm talking, that was a big change for me, because I had never talked about Tony in the third person. So it was really hard to, get my mind wrapped around it, but I was able to do it. And of course, he then turned me over to one more coach, because he said, I got you to 95%. She will get you to 110. And I'm like, okay. And I did. And she basically just said, be a little bit more warm, talk and touch in regards to Tony. And we'll go from there. And my first night, we had at the show, we had an odd practice run the day before. And my first coach happened to be there too, and he was behind the stage with me. And when I came off the stage after doing it, he was in tears. He just said, I can't believe it. And I said, don't get me crying myself, because I need to carry this over to the next day. And it just went absolutely great.
Well, that's really wonderful. And I love the part where you talked about the differences between being a man and being a woman, because comedians love to talk about how their wives make them late to everything. And they just don't understand that there's just so much preparation. And I want to say the preparation is not so much for us, but it's because of all the presumptions that are made about us. Just like you talked about, somebody said that you dressed like you were going to a party when you were just dressing regularly.
Yeah.
And so the men in our audience, you know, you would not believe the presumptions that we women make about each other, the presumptions that men make about us, and you always have to hit the right mark, or else you get, I guess you get some sort of discussions that you don't want to be involved in. So that's really wonderful.
So Karen, I want to ask you a question, because I do a lot of emotional education and trauma education, things like that, what we call emotional intelligence. I want to talk about the trauma you were feeling as Tony that got relieved when you became Karen. I think a lot of people don't understand that at all. Why you had so much as one, and then was really freed when you became Karen.
It's interesting that you asked that question. I felt like I was happy, but I also felt like I was Superman hiding behind the glasses, in which I don't wear, but just as a metaphor to say that that's what I was hiding behind. Literally, there was something that deep inside of me that kept saying, women can do anything. Women can do this. Women. And that was my whole mind. Why do I think like this? Well, obviously, that's who I am in my mind, heart, and spirit. I couldn't get away from the feeling that I felt as a woman and the fact that I knew women could do anything. So going through all of that, and dressing every day, keeping monitor of my parents when they were going to be home, or, driving to work in the morning. This is even when I was married, um, driving to work. Actually, I would go like a couple of blocks away, change clothes in the park, go to work, park in a parking lot, change back to Tony, go in. And there was just this battle between. And I used to always think, wow, I would think about going to work on the metro, being me, being at my desk, working at work, doing work, and being Karen. And I just couldn't get those feelings and thoughts out of my head the whole time. So um, when, like I said, going to the conference up in Philadelphia, it opened my eyes. And I tell people, this isn't an easy decision. I actually prayed about this for years. And I chalk it up to God to say, hey, your timing was everything. I always wondered why did he wait so long to bring this information to me about the conference? But to be honest, because I get a lot of friends ask me, are you sad that you didn't do this earlier? And I said, sometimes I do, but I think if I had done it any earlier, I would have been this wild child out there. And basically, at this age of 53, when I transitioned, I was a little more mellow, even though at first, going to clubs or whatever, might dress a little, not too provocative, but a little bit different. And I had a very good friend of mine who said, look, if you're wearing a short dress, wear more flatter shoes. If you're wearing a long dress or pants, yeah, you can wear the heels. And so once I got that into my mind and head, it just went perfect.
First of all, Karen, congratulations, because you're living life as your true self. And I can see it even in your demeanor, how freeing it is, how happy you are. So I think we spend the first part of our lives trying to determine who we are, and the last part of our lives trying to live up to that vision of ourselves. And you're doing it. It's very courageous. And you're also showing other people who feel the same way you do that it can be done, and how happy they could be if they're brave enough to take that chance and just go through the process. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And you're not only showing transgender people that they can be themselves, but you're showing all of us that we should be ourselves and live the life as we see ourselves. So thank you.
Ms. Washington. When I'm speaking to, I want people who are not transgender to understand that we're not what you see on Jerry Springer show. We are doing great things out there. We are police officers, firefighters, military people. We are nurses, doctors, judges, politicians. The list goes on, and they're doing good things out there. And without me doing my part, showing who I am and being able to say, hey, I've worked for the federal government for 20 years, doing military, which I joined after my transition, everything is just falling into place. I mean, I still go out and volunteer. I was at Harvey down in Texas, Houston, doing work down there. I went to Joplin, Missouri. And it's so funny, when I went to Joplin, I'm sitting on the airplane next to this one lady, and I was, on the last leg of the flight, one of those small planes. And I was talking about why I was going to Joplin to help the tornado victims. And something just in my heart just said, tell her that I was transgender. I don't know why, God, but okay. And I did. And she goes, wow, you're my new best friend. You know, why, I don't know why I'm her new best friend now, but that's how that conversation went. When I went to Sandy or, Hurricane Sandy, the victims out there, I don't think they didn't know, but even if they did know, what do they see? They see somebody out there serving, helping them through a disaster. So I wish a lot of people would understand that, not to judge people um, from the outside, because for a transgender person, when they first transition, it's going to be very tough unless they've been on the hormones for a little bit. It's going to take a while for things to adjust. Some do, some don't, some end up doing facial surgery. I was very fortunate and blessed that I have known Adam's apple. I always used to complain that I didn't like my height. I'm only 5'5.5" now. Um, and and my voice. I was always complaining why my voice isn't more deeper, and stuff like this. And I said, oh, God knew, you know, and I just didn't understand why I wasn't a little bit more, even though I played football and baseball. It was it was great to be able to do those things, and um, I just enjoyed life. I look at my pictures when I was younger, before Tony, while I was Tony. I thought I was happy, but I look at myself today, since my transition, since my big surgery. Oh, there's a huge difference in my photos now than it was back then. And It's just great.
So there's a couple of questions before we get going. We always cut out here on time. Are you married now?
No, I'm not. It's funny, I do have a ring. And the reason I do that is, well, the first 5 years, I really didn't want to get involved in any type of relationship because I wanted to find out who I was.
Right.
And after my 5 years that I put myself on hold, I've been looking. I'm still interested in women, but I have seen a few guys, and I'm like, he does look kind of cute, and so I kind of wonder. And I do have a really good friend that's in Seattle now. He was going to one of my churches here in Rockville. And every time he comes in town, he gives me a call and says, hey, you want to go to dinner? You want to go to a movie or something like that? I'm like, yeah. I would definitely in a heartbeat say, yeah, we can get together,
So the question I have is, because you were married.
Yeah, I was married for 18, 19 years before it was all over.
And my problem I have with, did it separate because you were transitioning, or the person was just not able to stay?
I think it was a little bit of maybe both, because every time she brought it up to me about, she would see like maybe an article that I left in the dryer or the washing machine. She thought I was dressing, and I said I would always deny it. Um, I've been trying to get in touch with her for the last 10 years. I stopped after the third time because I wanted to say I was sorry.
Right. I was going to ask
And
about that.
yeah, I wanted to say I was sorry, but she has not contacted me. Her youngest sister has talked to me. Her children have, I've actually met one the first time. He actually surprised me coming here to the house because my mom goes, like, there's a surprise here, somebody to see you. And I'm like, nobody's that big of a surprise,
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it was my youngest stepson. And when he came down and turned the corner to my living room, I totally lost it for an hour. I was in tears because his aunt, which I told, don't tell nobody. I want to talk to my ex-wife to say I'm sorry, but she told everybody, and that blew that whole thing up. But he still came. He didn't talk to his sister, who now has been here twice to see me. She was just here last weekend, and even introduced her boyfriend to me, And I was like, I feel really, really honored and like, you know, you're taking your boyfriend or your girlfriend to meet your parents for the first time. It was very touching.
So,
So
so it leads me to the next question: is why are we as humans having a difficult time with this particular issue, or is it this just part of the other sickness we have trouble with, whether it become race, religion, gender, just people? So, is it part of it, or is this something you think is specific?
I think it's specific because people don't know the subject, the issue, the problem, who we are. And that's one reason why whenever I go speak, I always try to bring everything that I'm doing into the picture because a lot of people say, wow, you do a whole lot. And, you know, I'm nowhere near that. And I'm not doing it to do
Right.
shame. And I'll talk to that part in a second, but it's educating. And it's like the same thing I tell them, what you see in Jerry Springer show is not who we are, you know, and I love it when we actually have TV shows that are showing the good things that we're doing. Laverne Cox was doing this one, a prosecutor, I believe it was, and I thought that was great. I was like really sad to see that show go off the air because here it shows a black trans woman doing positive things and being really up there in the community. And here they took the show off. Now, Pose, I love Pose. It just shows a different dynamics of who trans people are, but they're having a good time out there. And there's so much true to life out there that's going on with Pose. Now, the other thing, as far as volunteering, I tell people I've got a virus, and the virus is called volunteering. And I'm hoping by me talking about some of the things I do, not to bring shame, but hey, if I can affect any one of you to go out there and volunteer, that's a good thing.
Can you talk a little bit more about your volunteering program, like the butterfly program that you're involved in?
Yeah, well, let me start off how the Butterfly Project got started. When the two girls were murdered in Fairmont Heights back in 2019, the third district commander for District 3 called me up and said, hey, look, you know, these girls were murdered right there near the borderline of DC and Prince George's County. She said, I'm having my officers, they're pushing the girls over to the DC side of the street. DC's coming back and pushing them back to Maryland. And she said, I'm tired of playing ping pong with these girls. And if I arrest them, they're just going to come back out and work the street. Is there anything you would like to do to help out? And I said, absolutely. I would love to help out. And so I would ride up and down with a police officer on Eastern Avenue and surrounding areas of Eastern Avenue. And if we saw any of the girls, and there was one guy I saw out there, the officer would pull over. I would get out of the cruiser and go up and talk to them and identify myself, you know, that I'm here to help. And by the way, I'm transgender. So that really opened up that door for them to talk to me. And so I said, there's got to be something that I'm missing here. And so I started a coalition in Prince George's County called the Prince George's County Trans Coalition. And so what I did was I got other organizations that are out there in Prince George's County and surrounding area, because we do have a couple of people. I do have a DC police officer on the LGBT task force for them being a part of this program as well. And so we're coming up with ideas. My biggest idea when I first told the group is I want to be able to help these girls get off the streets. I want to work with them on resume building. And from there, I want to see if we can sit across the table from each other and role play an interview. And then I want to see if we can talk to businesses that are Goodwill or Salvation Army to say, hey, you know what? We donate clothes to you. How about if we give them a flyer or something where they can bring in and you can donate clothes to the girls at no cost? So the coalition really thought this was great. Actually, the library, well, actually before that, how this all really got started even more, earlier this year in June, we actually did a wreath laying for the girls that were murdered there in that area. And so they asked me to, lay down a wreath as well, which was really, I felt honored. But here's the thing that's so beautiful. The guy that gave me the wreath, he said, you can lay it anywhere up here, wherever you think. And I just felt like, when I got led to that spot, it was the exact same spot that one of the girls took her last breath at. And that was really scary, I guess you could say. But then some of the people said they felt a nice breeze go by when I finished laying that wreath right there. Like she was there saying, yes, this is where I died, took my last breath at. And they know this because the house across the street from that spot, they had a ring and they were able to look at it. So at that event, there was two people from the Prince George's County Memorial Library. And so they heard how I would like to present and help these girls get off the streets. They actually talked to the library in Prince George's County at Fairmont Heights. And so what they've done is they've actually come up with the Butterfly Project, where we're going to work on those things as far as doing the things I have a vision for, the resume building, the interview process, and the clothes. I've actually got one lady who has a boutique place, tons of new clothes that either partly worn, that she said, or brand new with tags on them. So what Prince George's County's Memorial Library is doing is we're going to be dealing with resource guides, basic computer skills instruction, resume and interview coaching, access to gender affirming business attire, monthly catered networking support lunch, and access to the library services and more. We're going to be looking for peer mentoring, fundraising for critical peer mentoring, signal boost to partners and vulnerability of the population, and information on wraparound support for the participants. So I'm like, was blown away because when they did this project, they came up with the thing that the Butterfly Project is inspired by the life and work of Karen Holmes of Prince George's Trans Coalition. So I'm still kind of like in awe and tears the fact that they did this in my name. So yeah.
That's wonderful. Are these young ladies at risk? Are they at risk because of their profession? And how were the young ladies murdered? Or
I don't know the specifics, but they are sex workers. So I'm assuming that that's what happened. I don't really get too much into the details. I try to get as much as I can, but a lot of times these girls that are doing sex work, they're not telling their Johns, hey, I'm transgender, but I'm gonna, perform this act. they find out and they're like, the person's like, oh heck no, and they end up getting upset and killing somebody. I know out of the the women that have been murdered in this country, it's either related to somebody they know or dating, and then maybe their friends find out that they're dating a trans person, and they get upset with that friend, and the friend ends up killing that trans person. Or, we've had some, if they know they're trans, we've had the incident at sitting at a bus stop, waiting for the bus, and they're getting murdered. And the one thing I always like to mention is the fact that I know, like, if I ever get asked to go on a date by a guy, I'm going to let him know up front, hey, you know what? I am transgender and I want you to know that, because I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to be one of the names that they read on November 20th that I got murdered. And there was one particular person that when I did an interview with ABC 2 News out of Baltimore, the reporter said that when she asked that question to the interviewer that she talked to, the girl said, oh, they'll find out eventually. And I'm like, no, don't do that. And that's what's happened. I think the one murder that y'all had in Rockville, Maryland at the hotel, that person did know the person, and as well as the one in Montgomery Village too. So, you know, there you go.
Perhaps we could leave a contact number where people can get in touch with you
Oh,
if they wanted
absolutely.
to volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely. My telephone number is 301-395-4214. And then my email address is kkhomes@kkhomes.com. And then real quick before, you know, if somebody's going to call me, they should send me a text message first because my phone is blocking out all spam calls. So if you're not in my contact list, you won't, it'll just go into voicemail. And if they don't leave a voicemail, then I know it's spam.
So what was the number again? I didn't, you were quick. I didn't get it.
301-395-4214. And my personal website is kkhomes.com. And there I have a contact button there where you can actually go on and click on and send me a message that way as well.
Hold on, we're gonna continue talking, but Marilyn, do you want to say anything before we take off and close down the show? We can stay on the line and have many more questions for Miss Karen. But do you want to say anything, Karen? I mean, Marilyn.
Oh, I just want to thank Karen. I think that we've learned so much, and we really appreciate your forthrightness in reference to this matter. And thank you very much for all of the advocacy that you're doing out there. And like I said again, thank you for your service. You're not just a soldier, you are, you know, a soldier of soldiers. So thank you very much. But before we go, if I can, Mithun, are you still here? Because I think Mithun has a little announcement that he might want to let us know about.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Actually, I just came. I said my baby was trying, but it was. Thank you very much, Marilyn. I greatly appreciate that, and thanks to the host and the special guest. I just listened to the story. Oh my God, so powerful! And thanks what you are doing, Miss Holmes, for the people. We really appreciate that. And I just had a baby boy about 2 weeks back, and life. We are learning a lot. And me and my wife, and there is no schedule anymore. Only when we go to sleep, we can go to sleep, and life has been crazy, but in a good way. So it's a
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And let us know when we could send a card or something like that. I mean, you could let us know after we get done, but we'd like to do something to welcome the new baby into the world.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. And one thing I wanted to say to Miss Holmes, if possible, you know, I think what you are doing, what the host of this show, everybody is doing, I think what we can do, create a coalition of all wonderful people and give a voice to people who doesn't have one.
Okay.
So I think if we can do that, that will be great. That will be my request if possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mithun. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Karen, would you like to say anything before we leave?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, it's strange how Prince George's County has adopted me over there. I mean, I'm in touch, and the state's attorney in Prince George's County, she's wanted to be a part of this group as well, and willing to help in any way she can. I feel saddened in one part because things are just going crazy for me to help and be involved out in Prince George's County. What I want is to be able to do that same thing or be more involved or being asked or whatever in Montgomery County, because this is my home, you know. And I think, you know, Marilyn, you having me on the show, I thought that's a good start. I mean, I have done Montgomery County government speaking for them. I've actually done a training with them as well. Montgomery County Police, but that was years ago, as well as the fire department. But there's more out there that I know I want to do in Montgomery County because this is my home, you know. And not that I'm going to bail out with Prince George's County. They've adopted me. So, but I do want to do something here.
With
So
all
if anybody's got anything for me to do, please let me know. I
what
may talk to you right away directly, or push you over to my personal assistant that I've got started up. And she's giving me hell right now, um, but she knows that it's working great.
with all the work you're doing, and I sit on the board of the Red Cross, so there's always stuff for you to do, and I'm going to have you do it. One of the things of the advocate work that you are doing, and all the help you're going to need, and that we all need with advocacy, right? Because all the many hands makes the work light, and we know that.
Exactly.
Before we close the show, one question that's been actually plaguing me, and I wonder if Marilyn can guess because she's also an ex-soldier. What was the hardest question when you went up for the challenge? When you went up for the Soldier of the Year, when you went in front of the board, what was the hardest question you remember getting?
Actually, I didn't even know I was even going to be getting this award till I went to the conference down in South Carolina.
Okay.
And next thing I know, they're saying my name. I'm like, oh my God,
Okay.
I can't believe this. And that was the same thing when I got the NCO Soldier of the Year for the Maryland Defense Force and the Maryland State Guard Association. It was like, when I heard my name, I sat there for 4 seconds, like, who? you know. But it was nice to be honored that way after my first year of being with the Maryland Defense Force. I have no idea the qualifications or whatever they did for me being NCO Soldier of the Year, let alone for Soldier of the Year of the country, by the State Guard Association of the United States. So,
do you think you being a transgender, is that turning a corner for the military? Because the military doesn't turn all that quickly. They make big wide turns like a deuce and a half. So
right. You know, I've got some great friends who are in the military that are transgender, and they're making some headway there as well. But the biggest thing that really I felt like is huge is the fact that because of 45 making the tweet come out about getting rid of us, I thought was really, really bad, talking about readiness and stuff like that. And he just didn't know. He doesn't know. He's going on some assumption that we're being a disruption. I tell you, when I did the interview with ABC 2 News out of Baltimore after my surgery, and everybody at my battalion knew, it was such a relief because I felt like I didn't have to hide anymore.
right.
It gave me that lift that I can be now, just concentrating on my duties and what I need to do without being exposed. And I thought that was great. So in one example, I want to say the Express that they drop off at the metro stops and stuff like that. There was a cartoon article in there where the president was standing on top of this building along with the Secretary of Defense up there. And they were looking at this Scud missile heading toward the Capitol. And the Secretary of Defense goes, we would have been able to take that out of the air, but that person was transgender. And I actually have a friend who could do that he was actually on that mission, that department there.
Oh, so much work to do, so much work to do, and I'm glad we're all here doing it, listening, and please share, like, love, and contribute your service. And I think that's what Karen is saying. We're here for service. Thank you everyone for listening to Bridges Live. We're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. You can always join us. You have the link, and if you have any questions for us, comments, please put in inbox, contact us later, and we'll continue to stay on here, but we'll cut off the live show. So thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Recording stop.